Hey everyone. I just wanted to show what I've been working on the last few weeks, and I'm still working on it, but I'll just jump in and show you where I'm at. The last piece I did was this piece, and it was sort of this ray-shaped design that came out of trying to do an offset turn in a specific orientation, and I worked these rollers into it. But the thing that stood out to me while designing this was that I was doing this sort of bolt through method that sort of reminded me of the way knife scales are assembled on a lot of different knives, and I've just been sort of following knife makers for a while now and stealing little bits that I think are interesting. And to that end, I added this little nub that sort of reminded me of how a lot of sort of lever lock or back lock knives have just a little indent for their the lever on the back locks. And that was it. It was just sort of a visual hint at that shared idea. But as with everything, you want to kind of take that a little further. So I leaned into pretty much everything about this piece for my new piece. So I had the idea of designing something that was knife adjacent, and also just sort of leaning into this ray shape that came out of this. This one I wanted to leave kind of ambiguous, but anyway, with the new piece, I've really sort of leaned into the ray shape a lot more, and I've really taken the idea of making it knife-like a little bit further too. So as you can see, we have I guess what you would call liner pieces, lever pieces, and then what these pieces would be like the scales. And I'm not a knife maker, so I'm still not making knives, but I did make this sort of like a slip joint knife. So it has this little part is the lever, and depressing that raises the lock on the joint, as you can see. But you can also just sort of overcome that lever by folding the tail piece. Again, I'm not a knife maker, so this is not a blade. This is a milled piece, one solid piece, and then I made a really fun little jig so I could get this in the lathe and turn this little profile on it, and it holds pretty well. But now, instead of a spring, I thought it would be fun to try and create a magnetic spring. So I 3D printed some things and really sort of worked this out. And funny enough, I was at a opening for my show while I was working on this, and a collector of mine I mentioned what I was working on, pointing me at this other knife design that uses something similar to this, that uses magnets in lieu of a spring. This is the very, very, very first test for the spring, and I used these teeny tiny magnets, and it was super weak. So this thing is just super floppy, but that's sort of what 3D printing is for. So I iterated 2 more times. Got some bigger magnets, and let me see here, which one is which. Okay, so I think the bigger magnets improved this one pretty well. And then what I did was I shifted this pivot for the lever over 0.3 inches or something like that, and got a little bit more of a leverage on it, and now it works very well. So this sort of flips out and will go right into place. And so that's where I went from there. And then now this is stainless, so it is very, very slightly magnetic, so it does a little bit attract to the lever, but I designed it so that when you push the lever, it actually just contacts this enough to push it out, and then it falls right down. So it's quite nice. Still working on some things in terms of getting this some washers in here, some bushings in here to keep this stable, and getting that just right so that the tailpiece doesn't contact the liners. Needs just a tiny bit more tweaking. Another thing I did was I wanted to make sure this was appropriately light. So I made one, and this was the one that still doesn't fit, so I gotta work on this. So this liner and lever and tail are all titanium, and it's much lighter, but I come to the conclusion that titanium, this slip joint here is just, you can just feel it, it's just nasty. Without lubrication, titanium is just not the right material for a sliding fit of any kind. I thought it wasn't going to be too tight of a fit to cause any trouble, but it just did not feel good. So in the end, what I'm going to end up probably doing is the liners will be titanium and the lever and blade will be stainless steel, and then the sort of wing shapes are going to be anodized aluminum to keep the whole thing sort of light. The other thing I did was I did this accidentally, but I actually think it's kind of, I think it worked out. Originally I designed it so the convex part of the wing is the top and the concave is the bottom, and so this tail piece is on the bottom for this one, but I assembled this one backwards, and so the top is actually where the tail piece is, and I actually sort of realized that if it's gonna be a ray, the tail does actually articulate up on such a creature. So this is the most creature-like thing I think I've made in quite a while, and I think it's gonna go this way. Let's see, what else? What else? The way this thing assembles, and the other thing that I learned is, so I made these liners. These liners are stainless steel, and I'd use the same program to mill this, but the titanium work hardened just a little tiny bit, so now this is oversized and doesn't fit. So I'm going to try a different approach to making this feature. Plus having this raised feature makes it impossible to polish this in any easy manner. So I'm going to mill this off, and I'm actually going to make this a separate piece. And then I'll be able to get this green one together. But the way this assembles is, so there is, I made this stud. So this stud just fits in here, and then these two set screws engage that stud. And then the whole stud goes through the assembly, and then the opposite side also has set screws on it. So what happens is this is tolerance just right, so that when those set screws engage this taper, it sort of cams on itself and pulls itself together. And that's a little bit, getting that tolerance just right has been a little bit tricky, but it actually works pretty good. It's a nice snug fit. And I wanted to do that instead of having sort of a straight bolt through like last time. I was trying to figure out a way to make this bolting method more of a visual aspect, and I really like having these bolts on the front like that. So that was an innovation for this next version too. And then just getting these in aluminum anodizing. So this is polished, and then it's sprayed with glass beads in vapor honing. So it's water and glass beads, and it makes this nice satiny finish that I just love. So that's what I'm working on. I'm not quite done yet. Like I said, I'm going to rework this titanium assembly, make a stainless lever and tail to get this to fit, and then I have a little bit more work. I've been machining PTFE bushings, getting these bushed correctly so that I'm happy with where everything sits and how smooth this operates. This one's actually a little tight. Not only is the lever tight, but this is a little tight. And I think this one's the best one in terms of finding the right balance between keeping wiggle to a minimum and getting it a nice smooth action. So yeah, I just wanted to share it and get it out there. Get some thoughts from people, but I'll probably take another week or so to really nail this thing down. And these liners are my prototype liners, so these are aluminum. The final piece will not have aluminum liners, but I think it looks nice enough for a prototype. So yeah, that's the new piece. I haven't even named it yet. I'll figure it out. But I did want to share it. So more soon.